Tell us again what exactly happened after you landed there at Ben Gurion Airport on Sunday, I believe it was.
Well, the last time I was there, which was last summer, I was both physically assaulted and campaigned against by the right-wing Israeli settler movement, by fanatics in the West Bank, including, as I said, a physical assault. And when I left the country, I was informed by the authorities that in order to re-enter, I would have to obtain permission in advance. And so I did that. I followed that process accurately and respectfully. I obtained a visa in advance from the Israeli consulate in New York City. I was coming to attend a course at Hebrew University, and it was for that purpose that I had the visa. It was a one-year multiple entry visa. However, when I arrived, as you said, it was recommended that I not be able to enter the country.
So this was a student.
My visa was actually revoked.
Yeah. So this was a student visa.
Yes.
And what was the course? I mean, how long was the course supposed to be?
It was a close to 4-week course, which is how long I plan to stay. My children are right now at a Jewish sleepaway summer camp in America, a part of the URJ, Union for Reform Judaism, to which my family, myself, are members. And so that gave me time to come and travel and to attend the course.
So besides the course, besides the study, were you planning on going to the West Bank and doing anything in the West Bank?
Whether I had visited friends or not, I think is quite irrelevant to whether I had intentions to visit friends or not in the West Bank is, I think, quite irrelevant to the visa that I rightfully obtained. And I want to point out that Erdogan, one of the quotes that he said about why I was being denied entry was that I had filmed soldiers and said that their actions were not in compliance with Jewish values, and that occupation and repression are not Jewish values. And I stand by that. And what Erdogan was specifically referring to was what happened last summer while I was there, and I was in Hebron in the West Bank.
Yeah.
And a notoriously violent settler by the name of
Okay, well, wait a minute, Ariel. I don't want to talk right now about what happened back then, but I do want to talk. You know, you are part of Code Pink, as I mentioned in the intro. So, I mean, Code Pink was on a blacklist that was published by Israel. I believe it was back in January, that anyone who tries to enter from one of these organizations, be it Jewish Voice for Peace or people like you from Code Pink, would be barred entry. So you can't say that you're really surprised.
First of all, it didn't say that they would definitely be barred entry. Right after that blacklist was put out, the two co-founders of Code Pink, Medea Benjamin and Jody Evans, entered the country easily. Also, as I have said many times, I applied in advance for a visa and was granted that visa. So if there was a time to decide to deny me, that would have been the time when I applied at the consulate in New York City.
My panelist here, Yariv Oppenheimer, the former director of Peace Now, wants to ask you a question. Go ahead.
Many questions, actually. I will try to do it short. First of all, are you against the occupation in the West Bank and Gaza, or are you against the idea of the state of Israel?
I'm against the occupation in the West Bank and Gaza. I am opposed to any laws and any practices that are contrary to human rights. I believe in full equality and freedom and dignity for all people.
But do you support the right of Israel to exist as a state? Because
Israel absolutely exists as a state. I don't think that's in question here. The question is whether Palestinians have human rights.
Do you consider to sue Israel for the harm that you lost money, you lost time? Do you think about that?
That will be something I will discuss with my attorney.
Okay. What do you say, Ariel, to the many Israelis who see BDS, the BDS movement, as an anti-Semitic movement, one which doesn't agree with the very existence of the Jewish state, because Code Pink kind of cooperates with the BDS movement, doesn't it?
Well, if you look at the demands of the BDS movement, they're quite simple. They're really demands for human rights and international law. And I can't speak to the actions of all people who say they're acting on behalf of BDS, but I can speak for myself.
So you admit that there are anti-Semites, in the BDS movement?
There are anti-Semites everywhere in the world. That's not in question. In fact,
but you don't think, Ariel, that the BDS movement particularly has an anti-Semitic problem? Why does BDS attract so many anti-Semites?
I wouldn't say that BDS attracts anti-Semites. I would say anti-Semitism is heavily on the rise right now, and I would point to the Trump administration right here in America. I would point to my president, Donald Trump, who after the events in Charlottesville where neo-Nazis marched, chanting blatantly anti-Semitic things, Jews will not replace us, my president, Donald Trump, said, there were good people on both sides and defended the neo-Nazis.
Okay,
so I would point to the rise in anti-Semitism around the world and say that that is absolutely something that we need to address.
I want to bring in Oded. I when you look at her, does she look like a dangerous person?
She is an extremely dangerous person.
She's an extremely dangerous person?
I can
How so? How?
How so? If you go and look at what she writes, what she says, what she does against the state of Israel regarding whether they're Jews in Judea and Samaria, she doesn't even remember that Israel is not occupying Gaza, but it's all in one big scramble against the state of Israel. And the only thing I can say is that I'm so sorry that you gave her so much screen time, because she doesn't deserve anything. She shouldn't be allowed on air.
This is a legitimate position of many, by the way, also Israelis that support Israel, but it's not against the state of Israel.
She doesn't support the state of Israel.
She said clearly that she is working against the occupation, not about the state of Israel, and she came to study here. So how you can come to study in a place that you are against the fact that it exists?
Go and look.
Ask her whether she's against the idea of the state of Israel. She said no.
Okay, when you feed her and tell her what to answer, you get the answer with what you want. Go and look on the website of acts that she does, and she's proud of doing them, and what she's doing against the state of Israel, against the legitimacy of the state of Israel, and that's why she shouldn't be given any time.
We have to go for a break, Ariel. 20 seconds before we go for a break, quickly.
I'm a direct descendant of Rabbi Joseph Caro, and the land and the people are incredibly important to me, and my Judaism is incredibly important to me.